You know, just want to play hockey. So, you know, going back to the structure of our league, we try and play both ends of that spectrum, where active associations, development associations, strong teams, strong players get a place to play. But also, you've got a lot of other kids that are just looking for a place to play, and they like to be there. And it's a step above house league. Sometimes you're going to get a house league that maybe shouldn't be there, players that shouldn't be there. But there's got to be a place for them to play. And then right now we look at a Division I, Division II format, but we'd like to encourage growth, and then maybe a Division III format within a division that's another step above house league.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. You're almost getting into an umbrella system at that point, where you're also dealing with house league level and recreation level.
And now, the biggest concern now, the body checking is putting this fence down between types of players, and that's going to be a tough thing to. It's going to be tough to feed the rep teams.
When do they start at rep body checking?
Pee-wee.
Pee-wee.
Yeah.
So
that's 11 years old.
So you basically have to make the decision about getting into rep by the end of Adam before you get into Pee-wee.
Yeah.
Well, that's what, Pee-wee now is what, 12?
11 years old.
11 years old.
11 years old, we went to the first year Pee-wee.
Yeah. So it's going to be more difficult for these house league players to make a break into rep hockey after Pee-wee. You just got to get used to that whole mindset of watching other players and being careful. Yeah. I think that's where, when you're taking a look at the high school situation, where high school is body contact, body checking, and really now you can play up to the end of grade 12 and still be a midget player.
Yeah.
So you could theoretically see kids in house league who have never been involved in body checking playing on a high school team.
Yeah, so that makes
against people who have been playing body checking for a long time.
That mix is going to be a concern. Not so much today, but 3-4 years down the road, when the kids come up and have never played it. Now a midget player has played it for 2 years, and all of a sudden you're going to stop him from hitting. So it's it's more it'll be more effect a few years down the road when they have the history of not playing body contact period for a few years.
Yeah, it's gonna. I'm curious to see where that's going to end up. Even though the caliber of play at high school kind of restricts it to players who are elite hockey players, rep hockey players. There's some pretty good players in high school teams, on most high school teams, unless they go Division II.
Well, they sort of have an A-B structure. They sort of get seeded after a period of time, I think, in high school now. Not everybody competes for the top division. I think there's two structures there. So maybe it's the same thing.
Do you find the game any more violent than it used to be?
No, I don't.
I'm glad you said that. I can remember back in the 60s and 70s watching the old Sudbury Wolves play, and I just couldn't believe how rough that hockey was.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have to go back that far. I can remember watching the Dudley Cup games here on their side, Belford. My son was doing the games. It was like a war.
Yeah.
So whether but so why does it seem like it's so much more violent?
Why does hockey get a bad rap?
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know. I ask myself that question. I still love the game. I'm a purist. I like the way the game's played. I don't like to see too many changes that are, there's things that they bring in and change, and
And the parents, the parents have always been parents.
Yeah.
I just think the nature of the game, you're going to have flare-ups.
It's going to happen. You know what? I being the convener in the midgets, separate from a board member on our board, there's years when I had trouble teams, trouble kids. But and there's years when we don't have anything. So it's not a general thing that there's more violence in the game. I don't think there is. I think there's a lot more publicity in the game. I think a lot of things get talked about more now. If you talk about a hockey fight, it's publicized.
Right.
It's negative publicity, on various levels. NDHL, biggest criticism is fighting in the game or not in the game. Is it Don Cherry right or someone else right? And people keep talking about that, keep throwing it out there.
The irony I find is that you get kicked out of the game now for elbowing somebody in the head, but you can punch them 3 times and you're going to get 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. At some point, where does a head check? Where does a head check a head check?
Yeah, minor hockey's not that, but
No,
but at
at
junior
the
level
NHL,
and above, yeah, that's right.
Like, is a punch a head check?
No.
You know, and yet you get 5. But those are our little things. Are we? Do you have a certain protocol or process for training kids body check, showing them how to body check? Does the Nickel District League do, or is that each association?
No, the league itself is, you know, I mentioned that we facilitate teams playing. There's no structure that way at all. You know, the NDHL requires the coaches to be involved in certain certifications. You know, speak out for abuse type things, body checking clinics. I think at the Adam or Pee Wee, I guess that's at the Pee Wee age group. The coaches have to have body checking clinics. So you know, it's up to each coach then to work with the kids and teach them how to hit or be hit.
So that then is the responsibility of each individual association and the NDHL. So your role is to give them a place to play.
We're uninvolved, yeah. We're uninvolved. Like I say, we facilitate teams from Blind River to North Bay to have a league to play in. We do the scheduling. We do the take care of you know, suspensions. You know, we organize it. You know,
How about the officiating?
Officiating is done still at the association level. You know, each association, I mean, there's been debates about local referee associations running different local rinks, that sort of thing. At the midget level, I mean, you know, there's a midget assigner, that sort of thing. But each association typically develops its own officials, or at least employs its own officials. The development, I think, comes through the referee association itself, you know.
Okay. And yet,
but the NOHA, I mean, they're the ones that go out and certify these guys. You know, they're the ones that they're supposed to be supervised a certain amount of time, that sort of thing. So you have the NOHA involved, but you have the association involved.
And then the image reflects on the image of the Nickel District Hockey League.
If it's not well done, it would. Yeah, it would. You know, to be honest, I mean, at the young age groups you might hear, because there's young kids refereeing, that, you know, there might be some complaints. But overall, I don't think people complain about officiating. You know, you'll get the odd parent that complains about everything, and you'll never hear the end of it. But overall, I think the officials are well organized here.
Especially at the rep level, you're going to be getting the officials at the rep level that want to do the game. They basically want to officiate.
Yeah, I know they you know, in talking to the signers and the referees and chiefs and stuff, you know, they have more trouble attracting and keeping kids now than they ever did. So that's an issue. But there's been some that have been around for an awful long time that are still there. So there's you know, they're doing it because they want to. But kids, it's like anything else. I mean, you know, you realize they get paid for it. Are they getting enough games? Are they getting enough work? There's all kinds of things to consider. You know.
And do they have the right mentality?
That's right.
To be on that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't think I could be a referee. That's not something I'd want to be. I don't think. Yeah, you have to be a special person to do that. I think.
Yeah, and I think, and that's where I think and that's why I really never had too many problems at the rep level unless we were going into a tournament. Unless we were going someplace where there were a lot of officials needed in order to run the tournament, and so you sometimes had officials on the ice who you knew were there because they needed someone on the ice.
That's right. Sheer numbers.
Yeah. There's a lot of games in the tournament.
You talk to any of the signers around here when tournament weekends come up, you know, if you have a tournament in Rayside and something else going on in the valley, and you got guys going back and forth, and they have a tough time.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, you're getting 100 games a tournament or whatever they're playing. Like there's, you know, there's just so much demand on them.
Yeah.
That's where they have the problem.
And I think that's where you get the weakest link come in. That it might be one game in a tournament that could basically ruin the image of the tournament. And
yeah, that's
possibly
right.
It's not the official's fault. It's probably because the official shouldn't have put in that position in the first place.
Well, I think sometimes too it's a tired factor too. You know.
Yeah.
You do 10 or 12 games on a weekend. Boy, you can.
You're
only human.
You get to that 11 o'clock game on a Saturday night where it's an elimination game.
I find I'm I've got bigger shoulders looking at officials now when I look at them than when I was a coach on the bench. I mean, I can sit and understand things they're doing on the ice a little better now than as a coach. Everything affects you in the game. So
I know. I can never remember an official doing a bad game that I won.
that's right.
I never recall it. Sometimes elite hockey, playing rep hockey, gets a bad rap for the cost. I've never found it was the cost of the playing of hockey. It was all these extra costs. It was the tournaments, the travel.
Yeah, I think
elite hockey is not much more expensive than house league.
Well, you know, there's house league teams that go to as many tournaments as rep teams. There's rep teams that don't go to a lot of tournaments. There's rep teams that go to a ton of tournaments. Yeah, so the cost, it can be tough, you know. It can be tough, there's no doubt. You get a bad rap for the cost. It's an expensive sport. It is an expensive sport, but like you say, the travel part is a lot worse than the cost itself.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, I don't on a per player basis. I mean, if you're paying $20-25 to go play a game, that's no different than anything else you do in life.
Yeah.
But add in a hotel rooms for the weekend and you know, a weekend a month, and it can be.
And all the extra, yeah.
It's tough. I mean, some people don't play on a rep team because of cost. Overall, though, I think most people accept the fact that there's going to be costs, and they find a way to get the money to have their kids play at that level if they can.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but some people can't.
Yeah.
You know.
And I've always been I felt kind of sorry for a lot of players or the parents whose children play at the house league level, and then they happen through the luck of the draw getting a team that has got 6 tournaments, and that wasn't what they got into.
They didn't think it was about that. That's
Yeah.
right.
And once you start doing that, you got novice teams at house league level fundraising and things like that, and it's like, oh my goodness, there's something wrong with this pitcher.
I mean, I wish associations and groups would monitor and regulate their own. I mean,
you can't do it.
As a league, we've been asked, and our board has considered it many times, and we looked at the Greater Toronto Hockey League, and they have a form to apply to go to a tournament, and I think it says right on the form, you're restricted to so many tournaments, period, boom, that's it. You know, some associations, the Sioux this year has applied to come to our league at certain levels, and the comment is made that they, you know, the number of tournaments they attend is dictated. Locally, some associations do have sort of rules on that, but there's never been a restriction here. And so ultimately, when you go to a tournament from the north, you're traveling, and then you know, you're traveling somewhere that's going to cost you a lot of money. That's you know, so I mean, I wish there'd be more planning from the association level because it creates scheduling problems within the league. You know, conveners have a tough time scheduling.
I was going to say, it must really play havoc with your schedule.
Well, it's a schedule, and then you know, somebody's scheduling officials, and if you have to change schedules, you know, you're canceling games. Ice doesn't get used; that costs money. I mean, there's a lot of things that are affected by the fact that teams have unlimited ability to go to whatever tournaments they want to go to.
So play in the Nickel District Hockey League, there is no restriction that the league places on that?
None. I think our constitution calls for a commitment to the league as a general comment. You know, we don't schedule you during the March break. You're supposed to be available for playoffs around that time of year. We have a playoff tournament, and you know, I mean, people accept that fact, but to restrict them on traveling anywhere doesn't happen.
And at the end of the day, it's generally a decision between the two coaches that
two coaches and the convener. You know, the conveners are great people. I mean, I've done it for years. I'm not saying I'm a great person, but I've got people that are conveners in divisions, and you know, if they're organized people and they can talk to their coaches and get them to agree to things, and things go pretty well. You know, even if you have to juggle schedules, but that's a tough job. Convening is a tough job because people sometimes don't plan ahead. You know, oh, I've got a tournament in a week. Well, you know what? That shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
That shouldn't happen. So anyway, yeah, we have no restriction as a league.
The Nickel District Hockey League stops at the end of midgets.
Yeah.
Is there any place for kids to go play hockey after midgets
You
besides
know,
that?
they toyed, I think the Valley Association toyed with juvenile hockey at one time. But no, really, there's nothing. There's nothing anywhere.
There's never been,
There's never been a push.
push to do it.
There's never been a push, and you know, there's been drop-offs at the older age groups in terms of numbers. I mean, I don't know how you would get it. And then you have the whole discipline thing, you know, if it's too carefree, you know, do we have to worry about how do you discipline a kid that comes out at 18 years old and does what he wants and has his way on the ice? And
Basically an adult at that point.
I mean, there's a lot of things to think about. I mean, even renting ice, minor hockey age has different insurance rules than adult ages. It's you know, there's things to consider there. So I think some people have talked about it, but it's never gone anywhere. I just think sheer numbers, it just doesn't work.
So a kid coming out of midgets at what, 17, 18?
The 15, 16, 17 is midget, so yeah, he'd be 18 years old. Yeah.
So he'd be 18,
If you can't play junior hockey here somewhere,
or you're not
or you're not going back to
university,
school, not going back to school for a year, you're not going to university, you're done. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's basically the adult leagues that,
Yeah.
if you can get in.
That's the big joke, not big joke, but you know, the way hockey is structured, and you have AAA kids, and you have house league kids, and you have everybody in between, and you know, the joke is that everybody just takes a different route to the same beer league.
Yeah.
That's you know, and then you're playing because you really want to, you know. It's no, there's no structure, not here. They do in Southern Ontario. There's juvenile leagues, you know, and they have rules and they have organizations, but we've never been approached. It was talked about 4 or 5 years ago. People thought about it. Somebody wanted to. I think it was a self-serving more than anything else. You know, the kids were going to move to that age group, and somebody tried to try and put together. But if you can't get 4 teams, what kind of league can you have? You can't have a league with 3 teams.
Yeah,
You know?
2 or 3 teams is
Yeah.
just